ओम पवित्रं चरितं यस्याः पवित्रं जीवनं तथा पवित्रता स्वरूपिण्यै तस्यै कुर्मो नमो नमः। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु श्रद्धारूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। Salutations at the holy feet of Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna, Jagannmata Sri Sharada Devi and Srimad Swami Vivekananda Ji. My respects to Sanmanya Shri Puneet Raj, the founder and CEO of Seminar Room Education Private Limited, Bangalore. A very good organizer to motivate the youth power in today's scenario. My respects to all the people who are associated with this institution, and I felt very happy to listen to the words of respected madam who did welcome to me to address our students of today's function. When Puneet Raj spoke to me over phone and told me about the massive program he has organized for the younger generation, especially the students who are 16 plus age-wise and who are in the pre-university and of course even in the degree, I felt very happy to take part in our program. After going through the details of the email he did, I again felt very, very, very happy to know that luminaries like Sri Vishweshwara Bhatt, educationalists like M.K. Sridhar, Dr. C.R. Chandrasekhar, and great achievers like Padma Shri Niranjan Mukundan and all, of course Dr. Raju, they are all participating and they are all guiding our students in a few days. And Mr. Puneet Raj was very particular in suggesting me a topic which is again, as our madam said rightly, how to empower our youth. This is the greatest challenge, perhaps the greatest need of the world today. We are very fortunate to belong to a great heritage, the Sanatana Parampara. Our great civilization was guided, administered and ruled by the Sanatana values, the virtues. We were not dictated by any individual personality. Rather, India from time immemorial has respected the phenomenon of some great philosophy, of great ethics, rather than following an individual. My dear young friends, you may come across some very, very silly questions, something like this. You have the founders for other religions, but you don't have a founder for Hinduism. So your address is incomplete. How do you justify your stand as moral and ethical? Many a times when I address the youths, even in spiritual retreats, I come across this question. My dear friends, keep in mind, even though gravitational force was discovered by Newton, Sir Isaac Newton, you should know gravitational force was there even before Newton. So, Hinduism, Sanatana Parampara, it is not a person-based religion, rather it is the principle-based. Hinduism is not only a way of life, it is a life of values I insist all our young friends to have this clear idea in your mind, because very frequently you come across such questions, very silly questions, when you meet with people of different mindset. At the outset, I want to quote Swami Vivekananda, and based on this statement of Vivekananda, I want to develop today's subject, how to empower our students, our youth, so that they can contribute their might in making our nation, our motherland, Bharat, a Vishwaguru. Swami Vivekananda says, the problems are understandably many, but the solution is one. What is it? You must make a new man out of the present man. I mean, the present man must become a new man of a greater dimension. So, going back to the pages of Upanishads, there is a very, very important Upanishad called Chandogya Upanishad, which says, Yadeva vidyaya karoti shraddhaya upanishada tadeva viryavattaram bhavati. I repeat, Yadeva vidyaya karoti shraddhaya upanishada tadeva viryavattaram bhavati. It means, whatever the work you do with great knowledge, with great conviction, and with the mind of meditation, it will fetch you maximum energy and efficiency. See, this is the beautiful secret of making a raw material human being into a human resource, making an unripe ego man into a man of ripe ego. This is the beautiful transformation of an ordinary organic Homo sapien into a psychosocial Homo sapien. For this, again, I want to quote the words of the great souls like Guru Nanak Ji. He says, truth is higher than everything. Yes, truth is higher than everything, but the still higher is truthful living. This is most important. So, my dear friends, in the light of the great words of this great saint Guru Nanak, I want to quote Swami Vivekananda again, who says, anything can be sacrificed for truth. I mean to say, everything can be sacrificed for truth, but truth cannot be sacrificed for anything. So remain truthful. A truthful life is the greatest life to achieve something really meaningful in our human birth. So keeping this in mind, in supplementation to the words of Vivekananda and Guru Nanak Ji, and of course Upanishads, I want to quote the words of Vidura from his Vidura Niti, Mahabharata time. He says, all beautiful things need not be good, but all good things are beautiful. Which means to say, you please concentrate the beauty aspect of any object only within the purview of whether the object is morally and ethically strong. So keeping this in mind, my dear young friends, you are all young and energetic. You are in the pink of your health. When you go through the utterances of great experienced people, you will have a ray of hope to march forward, onward, inward, and ultimately Godward to achieve the ultimate goal of our life. To quote the great English poet Tennyson, to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield, to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. This is the same replica of what Vivekananda said: arise, awake, stop not till the goal is reached. This is what our Upanishads propounded. Uddhared atmanatmanam. These are the lines from Bhagavad Gita. Uttishtata jagrata prapyavaran nibodhata. These are the words of Upanishads. So, before going into detail about how to empower ourselves in the light of Indian philosophical context, I want to present before you the negativity of the Western education. And these are all not my own words, these are the words of Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda was a wandering monk between 1886 and 1893. He traveled all along the length and width of the country for 7 years. He was not only the royal guest of the princely states, at the same time, he lived in the thatched houses, the huts of the beggars on the street. He could experience life in a very versatile way, starting from the life of a beggar to the level of the life of the emperors of those days. So with his rich experience, Swamiji says, I have traveled far and wide. I have traveled in all the provinces of India, including the central province. But I have not come across a single self-made man in India. If at all, if you find a self-made man in my country, you should know he had his education elsewhere, not in India. Keeping this in mind, again he continues what exactly the negativity of the Western education. Swamiji says, the Western education is merely and entirely a negative education. It says that your father is a fool. Your grandfather is a lunatic. Your teacher is a hypocrite. And all your sacred scriptures are a bundle of lies. Swamiji continues, by the time an Indian child crosses 16 years of age, he will be a mass of negation, lifeless and boneless. In continuation to these words, Vivekananda says, that's why I say, give light to uneducated and more light to educated. Give light to poor and more light to rich. Because the education, and of course with the help of this Western education, what the wealth you could earn, has led to life of lesser light. And even Swamiji, on one of the occasions while addressing a group of youth, he says, the Western education mainly aims at acquiring more and more food and more pleasure life. I mean to say, the worldly objects. It may look glorious in the beginning, but ultimately it leads to unhealthy competition in the society. Thereby, man will go to any extent and he may become any amount of cruel to see all his unhealthy, unethical, illegal desires to be fulfilled. So, this is the negativity, this is the greatest danger of the education system that was introduced by the British. Even today, if we have not rescued ourselves from the negative aspects of the Western education, even though we had our freedom 75 years back, later on, our so-called the policymakers, the educationalists did not give a serious thought about changing our education system, that is change for the better, so that our children will remain loyal and ethically positive towards their own motherland. And education must always inculcate in the minds of the children to love their nation, to love their parents, to love their civilization. Very unfortunately, even today in our education system, for example, in subjects like history, 95% of the history you study about the things which is other than our own motherland. Whatever 5% you study about our motherland, India, you have 90% of all our defeats, all our weaknesses, and here and there, just 1 or 2 points about our success, victory, and positives of our nation. Very unfortunate it is. That is why Swami Vivekananda insisted every youth of our country to study the real history of the country, and he also advised so-called the educateds with Indian bent of mind, who knows the history very sincerely and properly, to rewrite the history of our country. Till now, it has not been materialized in the fullest extent. I want to quote the words of Sri Jayachamaraja Wadiyar, our last king of Wadiyar dynasty, the Mysore dynasty, who was respected by Mahatma Gandhi as Rajarshi. And Jayachamaraja Wadiyar was also one of the presidents of South Indian states after India had its independence. Jayachamaraja Wadiyar was invited to deliver the convocation address in Dharwad University. In his convocation address, he made a beautiful mention of the importance of education. He says, education has a vital role in fulfilling not only the requisites for the individual development, but also the requisites for developing the nation. Because an individual should not remain an individual even after the process of education, after undergoing this education process. Rather, an individual must become a personality. Ultimately, this personality must get transformed into a citizen. A citizen is the human resource for the country at large. And Jayachamaraja Wadiyar says, education has to train the senses. Unless and until our senses are trained properly, we cannot differentiate between a moral and immoral aspect. Wadiyar says, education has to train our senses. It must develop our intellect properly. It must harmonize our emotions. It must equip the individual for efficient living, so that he will, with his integrated personality, can contribute his might to the country at large. So these are the requirements, the demands of the society when an individual is undergoing the training of education. And education, as Swami Vivekananda rightly said, in the words of Nani Palkiwala, education is not something like, it is not a factory where enlightened citizens are produced like lifeless products. Enlightened citizens are produced not in factories. They have to be the true results of our education system. Swami Vivekananda, an icon of our youth. I was in Italy during 150th birthday celebrations of Swami Vivekananda. I was very fortunate to release the book of Life and Teachings of Swami Vivekananda in Italian language. I was very happy to address the youths in America during 2013 That was Akka Sammelan, 2012 I mean, and my topic was about Swami Vivekananda's message to the youth. And I traveled in 6 countries in Europe during Vivekananda's 150th birthday. And 2 years back, I was invited in connection with International Yoga Day in 3 European countries. Wherever I have gone, it was really fascinating to see the youths of Western countries getting very much influenced and impressed by the man-making and character-building teachings of Swami Vivekananda. So Vivekananda is undoubtedly the youth icon of the globe today, not only in India, because he speaks about the importance of man, he speaks about the philosophy of strength, he speaks about the heaven within man rather than showing the sky and explaining something, that heaven is somewhere. And he will never say that any individual is a sinner on earth, because we are all the creation of God. The creation of God can never be an act of sin. And he is not a fool to create sinners on this beautiful planet, Mother Earth. So Vivekananda, very frequently during his wandering life, while addressing the people in particular in the Western world, his orientation, his concentration, and his target, I must say, was especially the youth. Swamiji says, "My dear youth, it is tremendous error to feel helplessness. Strength is life, weakness is death, expansion is life, contraction is death. Life is the unfoldment and development of a being under the circumstances tending to press it down. Life is a challenge. Life is a continuous struggle. Life is to achieve something great in our existence. There is an ocean of difference between life and existence. Do not seek help from anyone. We are our own help. If we cannot help ourselves, there is no one to help us." For that, Vivekananda gives the beautiful idea of success. Take up an idea, make this idea your entire life. Think of it, dream of it. Let every blood cell of your body reverberate with this wonderful idea. Leave the rest aside. This is the secret of success. I repeat, take up one idea, make that idea your entire life. Think of it, dream of it. Let every blood cell of your body reverberate with this beautiful idea. Leave the rest aside, and this is the secret of success. Swamiji says, faith in God, faith in ourselves is the greatest secret of our success. My dear friends, we must keep in our mind that smiles and tears, they teach us great lessons in life. I told in the beginning, while defining the importance of truth, the importance of truth in a society is the society must elevate itself to the level of truth. It should not drag truth to the level of the lower strata of values and ethics in the society. Society must pay respect to truth. If any society demands respect from truth, let the society die at the earliest. Sooner the better. These are the fiery words of Swami Vivekananda. That's what he says. Everything can be sacrificed for truth, but truth cannot be sacrificed for anything. You don't have any substitute for truth. Swamiji says, Uddhared Atmanatmanam. The words of Lord Krishna in Gita. He says, you are the maker of your own destiny. The same message is being reflected in the words of Thomas Alva Edison, who did 2000 inventions. He says, genius is 99% perspiration coupled with 1% inspiration. Swami Vivekananda says, teach yourselves, teach everyone his real nature. This is most important. We are not at all aware of our real nature. We define ourselves as we belong to a particular community, a particular nation. This is our name, this is our profession, so on and so forth. But my dear friends, Vivekananda insists us to know ourselves. Teach yourself. Teach everyone his real nature. Real nature. Call upon the sleeping soul. Call upon the sleeping soul. See how it awakes. Power will come. Glory will come. Goodness will come. Purity will come. And everything that is excellent will come when the sleeping soul is roused to its absolute activity. These are the fiery words of Swami Vivekananda. Chaitanya Chilume, I must say. These are the words of wisdom. This is something like the words of strength, which means we are all unaware of our real nature. This is what exactly the spiritual education every youth has to undergo. The wrong conception of our life is really the vital root for all our conflicts, all the conflicts in this world, wherein the price of ignorance is heavy. All our troubles are due to our spiritual ignorance. Very unfortunately, when we say the word science, we are very much confined to the physical science. But Swami Vivekananda, in the words of most revered Swami Gautamanandaji Maharaj, our Honorable Vice President, most respected Vice President of Ramakrishna Math and Mission, he beautifully defines the different prospects of science. Swami Gautamanandaji says, every individual has to master 3 different types of sciences. Yes, every man is physically limited, but spiritually, he is not only unlimited, he is universal. This is our spiritual identity. This is what just now I said, teach everyone his real nature. Swami Gautamanandaji says, the first science to be studied is the physical science. What does it mean? The physical nature, the external nature. It deals with the external nature. Here in the external nature, we have to study the different features of external nature. We must understand the forces which are prevailing in the external nature. And not only that, we must cultivate the art of how to ethically control the different features, the forces of external nature. This is most important. See, you must pluck a flower from a plant without harming the parent plant. Yes, you are eligible to pluck a flower from the plant, but not at the cost of breaking the very softy body of the plant. So, to control the forces of the external nature, you must have this sense of responsibility, because nature can fulfill the needs of the individual, but never the greed of any individual. These are the words of Mahatma Gandhi. Second science what Swami Gautamanji insists us to study is the science of values. The first one is a physical science. To establish our relationship with the outer world, we have to study the physical science for three important reasons. Number one, we must know the nature of physical science. Number two, we must study the forces which are acclaimed in the external nature. The third aspect is we must inculcate the habit, the art of how to ethically control the external nature forces. Second one is the science of values. This is needed because man is a social animal. He is living in the society. He represents the human society. So to live not only comfortably, to live morally and ethically with other people also, he must inculcate great human values, which comes under the category of the science of values. The third and the most important aspect is spiritual science, wherein we will realize that we are Atman and we are universal. If I say an individual is universal and he is unlimited, for a common mind, it is really difficult to understand and accept this fact. But you should know, you have the mixture of ordinary and extraordinary minds, ethical and unethical minds in the society since time immemorial. But the thing is, when you study any country for that matter, you don't study the entire populace of the country. Rather, you study those personages who are the makers of that particular country. That is why it is said the history of the world is the history of handful of personalities. Who are those personalities? The personalities who believed themselves more than believing the external world for their upcoming in their individual lives. They are the self-made people. They were never self-centered. They were never selfish. They formulated a life which was beyond the self. So keeping this in mind, spiritual science makes us to understand so many facets of successful life. To quote a few, spiritual science helps you to know that more than a life of success, a life of values is most important. Number two, it is more honorable to accept the defeat in the right path than trying for success through wrong means. Number three, when death is so certain, let us die for a great cause. Death for the good cause, but not success, should be our motto. Number four, never go after any success because our individual personality is very gigantic. It is really a big personality. Our success, it is something like the shadow of our gigantic personality. We need not waste our time in catching our success, the shadow of ours. Rather, more and more we concentrate our journey towards brightness. The shadow has to follow us unconditionally. It is unsought. You need not give an invitation to your shadow to follow you continuously. More and more you concentrate the direction of brightness, your shadow has to follow you. It has to. So you must keep this in mind. So with respect to this, I want to explain to you about what exactly the importance of spiritual science. Today, very unfortunately, the whole world is suffering because they lack knowledge about spiritual science. It is not either India or America or Europe or Germany for that matter. Every young man on earth is suffering because he is a giant with respect to physical science and he is a puppet with respect to the spiritual science. He knows beautiful techniques to establish man-to-moon communication, but man to man communication, it is drying up every moment and it is deteriorating. My dear friends, the physical weakness ultimately leads to cunning. You should know this. More and more you become physically weak, you will be a cunning personality. You betray people, you cheat the society, and just for your own welfare, you will disturb the welfare of rest of the people in the family and society. So that's why Vivekananda said, I want people with muscles of iron, nerves of steel, intellect like electric current, and you must remain sincere to your backbone. This is most important. We want that type of education by which character is formed, strength of the mind is increased, intellect is expanded, and by which one can stand on one's own feet. Education is liberation from limitations. Education is a progressive discovery of our ignorance. These are the utterances of great souls. My dear friends, as I said, physical weakness leads to cunning. Even spiritual weakness leads to mystery. Our faith can benefit us only when our faith is founded upon right knowledge, right reason, and supported by right evidence. My dear friends, to stand on our own feet, we must rely on cosmic eye instead of organic eye. This is most important because I told you in the beginning, man is not a mere organic evolution, rather he is a psychosocial evolution. Dispassion towards the world is the only way. You must remain dispassionate towards the society, I mean. Dispassionation is the only way to have the greater perspective of our love and faith. More and more we think positive about our society and family, of course our country. More and more we can love and we can develop the faith to work for our country at large. So this is exactly what is possible only when we can transform our unripe ego to ripe ego. We must know both discrimination and also renunciation. What is discrimination? It is something like discriminating between the floor and the first step, second step, and third step, so on and so forth, of the success ladder. When you discriminate between the floor and the different levels of the ladder, you are on the right track. You leave the floor, by taking the strength from the floor, you will accelerate. You will elevate to the first level of the ladder. Never ignore the floor, never belittle the floor, because you could climb to the first step of the ladder just by getting a push from the floor. Okay, this is the first step. And the second step, most important, this is what is called as the discrimination. You could discriminate between the floor and the different steps of the ladder, success ladder. And secondly, you must have this beautiful power of renunciation. You need not stagnate at the first level of the ladder. Again, unless and until you leave the first step of the ladder, you cannot climb to the second level of the ladder. So that is renunciation again. However comfortable, however beautiful the place or the stage where you are staying right now, but you must always aim for your journey towards higher truth. This is what Swami Vivekananda spiritually defined the term evolution. Evolution is not mere transformation of a subhuman into Homo sapien, rather it is something like our journey from lower truth to higher truth. Man never moves from error to truth, he moves from truth to truth, of course from lower truth to higher truth. This is what we call as the spiritual evolution. Please banish your fear and weakness. Never weaken your mind by thinking of your mistakes in the past. Stubbornness is a choke for weakness. The weak wants to get shelter of stubbornness to hide his mistakes. Real strength knows not only how to bend, but also to regain its true position. In the matter of opinion, my dear friends, please swim with the current. In the matter of opinion, please swim with the current. But in the matter of principle, stand firm like a rock. These are the words of Swami Vivekananda. You all know the youth is the wonderful time in anybody's life. We are blessed with the energy of unlimitedness. Our human creativity is at its best when we are in the pink of our health, and the never to say die, that spirit is at its peak when we are young. Swami Vivekananda insists every youth with these beautiful words of power capsules, I must say. The power capsules, I must say, of Vivekananda. We must give our best in a situation. We must give our best in a situation. But we must not wait like a street beggar for a small prize or glory or success. That beggar-like attitude brings all misery in life. What a beautiful advice. I want to quote the words of Albert St. George, the Nobel Prize winner in 1937 for the discovery of vitamin C. George's words will explain you in a greater degree how the true evolution of any individual takes place with a beautiful example. He says, snakes can grow only by bursting their skins. You know, snakes, they can grow only by bursting their skins. This process of skin bursting is called molting. This molting has to be a painful process. Should it fail, the snake would die. When a snake can tolerate this skin bursting process called molting, it can regain fresh life. It becomes still younger than what it was before the molting process took place. Likewise, he says, mankind grows by bursting the outgrowth skin of antiquated ideas, thinking, and institutions. That's why Vivekananda said, life is a challenge and life is a continuous struggle. When you undertake any process, either you will win, definitely, if not, definitely, you will learn. There is no word called failure in our lives. We must keep on trying to achieve something great in our individual life that will supplement the growth of the society. Bertrand Russell, a great Western thinker, he said, unless men increase in wisdom, as much as in knowledge, increase of knowledge without increase of wisdom will increase the sorrow. I want to quote the words of another great thinker. I think it is Alexis Carrel, the author of the book Man the Unknown, who says, our aim is not to see what lies dimly at a distance. Our aim is not to see what lies dimly at a distance, but to do what lies clearly at hand. If I give an example, you will understand. I think many of you know cricket. I'm very much fond of cricket. I had great passion about cricket. I played for my engineering college. I do enjoy playing cricket even today. Even after 30 years of my spiritual life, I play with our Vivekananda Yuvaka Sangha boys frequently. I enjoy playing cricket. In cricket, you know, any intelligent, a true cricketer will only concentrate how to hit the ball either to the boundary or above the fence. Either a 4 or a 6. He will never look at the scoreboard because he knows scoreboard is far away from him. But to have the increase of the score in the board, that is possible only when he has got a bat in his hand. He has to hit the ball powerfully so that either he will get a 4, a boundary, and if possible, if it is a hard hit, he will get a 6. So a true player will concentrate in the process of hitting the ball properly rather than frequently looking at the scoreboard to know the score. So this is what I told you. Our aim is not to see what lies dimly at a distance, but to do what lies clearly at hand. My dear young friends, I told you our spiritual personality should be properly nurtured. How to do that? Very unfortunately, not even 1% of the education today, even 1% of the teachers all over the world teach you how to nourish your physical personality. In brief, I want to present before you the great ideas propounded by the Sanatana Parampara Rishis, the Vedantic Rishis in ancient India. They said, if you want to develop a disciplined life, you must know about the 3 components of discipline. The 3 components of discipline are, number 1, Lakshya. Lakshya means goal. Lakshya is the first component. Second component is Dhruti. Dhruti means determination. The third and the final component is Sadhana, which means practice. Lakshya, Dhruti, Sadhana. Lakshya means to have a great goal in life. Dhruti means the determination to achieve the goal. Sadhana means to inculcate that great art of practice to reach the destiny. Lakshya, the desire to attain that goal, is what sustains all our further efforts. If you are bent upon, if you are committed to reach the goal, you must have a great goal in life. Unless and until you love the goal, you cannot establish a healthy journey towards the goal. So love your goal. Second one is Dhruti. It is fueled by the memory of our Lakshya and our energies to reach it. We will have the frequent memory of our Lakshya. This is my goal, this is my goal, this is my goal. Remembering it, it must get bombarded very frequently in our mind. Remembering it very frequently and making ourselves more determined about our goal, dhruti becomes successful. And finally, this sadhana, which makes us to try for achieving the goal. And you must keep these things in mind. What is the formula of relationship between lakshya, dhruti and sadhana? That is very beautiful, my dear friends. If we have only the desire to reach the goal, I mean to say, if you are confined only to lakshya, but no determination or practice, if you are only confined to lakshya and you have ignored dhruti and sadhana, our desire remains a dream. We end up with dreaming something, but it will not come to realization. Reality, I mean. If we are determined, but not aware of the goal where we have to go, or do not make any efforts to have action, we will grow in frustration. Finally, if we act without determination or an awareness of the goal to be reached, it will be an aimless movement of our limbs. We may make efforts, but ultimately it results in the dissipation of all our energies in toto. Very unfortunate it is. That is why Swami Vivekananda says, goals are important, but means are more important than goals. Every part of our journey of moving towards the goal is a fraction of our success. That's why he says, means are more important than goals. You remember Seoul Olympics of middle 80s, that is 1985 or 86, I suppose. I was a student of engineering those days. P.T. Usha missed the bronze medal within the fraction of a millimeter. So you should know, we may fail even though our journey is at the 50th, our goal is at 50th step of our journey. We don't know, even at 49th step, we may collapse. So the success at every step is a fraction of our success. We should never ignore that. We must always keep in mind that the whole journey is most important. For that, we must need lakshya. We must have the clarity of goal. Secondly, dhruti. We must have the determination to reach the lakshya. Finally, we must have hard working. As you all know, there is nothing parallel to hard work. My dear friends, you must keep this in mind. To conclude, I want to bring to your kind notice the differences between a great man and a common man. A man cannot become great all of a sudden overnight. A great man, he keeps calm in danger. Vajradapi kathorani, mruduni kusumadapi, lokottaranam chetamsi, kohi vignatum arhasi. A beautiful subhashitam. A great man keeps calm in danger. He has the power to say the right thing in the presence of many people. He is not afraid of telling truth. In prosperity, a great man has got forgiveness. In battle, he shows prowess. He has got a greater desire in learning. He is always intent upon doing good to other people. 21st century human psychology as propounded by Abraham Maslow. 10 postulates he has put forth. I quote a few. Reality centered. Be spontaneous. Be creative. You have to learn from anybody for that matter without taking his social status into consideration, whether he is above you or below you. If you want to learn something new, you have to learn from everybody. Anybody for that matter in this society. And you must stick to your individual opinion if it is sincere and proper, ethical, And he says, finally, respect the mystic experiences of the great souls of the world. So here, to conclude my lecture, I want to quote Swami Turiyanandaji, the direct disciple of Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna, who beautifully guided the youth with these words. What is that? Try to live with those who have mastered their mind. Try to live with those who have mastered their mind. If you cannot live with them, at least think of them, because mind controls mind. Wonderful words of Swami Turiyanandaji. So Swami Vivekananda says, last two utterances of Vivekananda. Number one, Vivekananda says, if an individual or a nation has to come up in life, they must inculcate these three important aspects. Number one, conviction of the powers of goodness. You must respect values. You must respect ideals. Swamiji says, if a man with an ideal commits 500 mistakes, a man without an ideal will commit 50,000 mistakes. Have ideal in life. You must have proper aim and objective of life. Conviction of the powers of goodness. Never belittle the eternal values. Intelligence, mere intelligence is not a spiritual value. Many a times, intelligence has led to the deterioration of man. You take the example of Hitler, you take Saddam Hussein, Bin Laden, Harshad Mehta, so many people who really betrayed their own people of the country, and they were very intelligent. But they are not history makers in the positive sense, because they were so self-centered. We all know how they met their end. They died like the animals on the street. Conviction of the powers of goodness. Please, my dear friends, study Vivekananda, study his message to the youth, study the Ramakrishna Vivekananda philosophy. If possible, you can go through so many books. We the People, We the Nation, written by Nani Palkiwala. You can study Sunny Days, the autobiography of Sunil Gavaskar. You can study Wings of Fire, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. You have so many wonderful books to go through. You must study. The second aspect is absence of jealousy and suspicion. Samshayatma vinashyati. Suspicion and jealousy cannot be the positive powers in our upcoming. Finally, help those who are good and who can do good. If you practice these things, we will come up in life. Ultimately, we can make our Bharat a Vishwa Guru. But Vivekananda equally cautions us about the seriousness in the journey of success. He says, every great work has to pass through three stages. ridicule, opposition, and acceptance. Ridicule, opposition, and acceptance. When you start doing some good work, people will laugh at you. They cut jokes on you. They will laugh at you. Something like they will ignore you. Second one, opposition. Even if you continue your good work, neglecting the responses of the common people and the people who comment in the society, they will start opposing you. Even then, if you are bent upon continuing your good work and aiming more for reaching the destiny rather than listening to the unhealthy, immoral words of discouragement from the other people of the society, they will finally accept you. They will accept you. So, my dear young friends, these are all the things. If you can dream properly, if you can think of those values propounded by Vivekananda, definitely an individual can become a human resource. A human resource at large can contribute his might to the upcoming of the country. India is a great country. Whenever we speak about the greatness of India outside in the overseas, they listen to us with rapt attention. Very unfortunately, our own children are unaware of our own greatness. I recently, while addressing on the occasion of Teachers' Day in Bangalore, Jnanajyoti Auditorium, on the occasion of National Teachers' Day, the birthday celebration of Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, in the presence of our Higher Education Minister, Shri Ashwath Narayan, and in the presence of half a dozen Vice Chancellors and more than 600, 700 principals of degree colleges of Karnataka, I did the clear mention of the aim of new education policy, which is redefining India to Indians. We have become refugees in our own country. We don't know what exactly our greatness, the great history of this country. We have to study that. Unless and until we know about our country properly, we cannot develop love and affection. We cannot respect our country at large. And unless and until we respect our country, how can we serve our country? You see the IITs today, at the cost of every pie of a common man on the society in our country, these IITs are educated. 95% of the IIT graduates, they work for other countries and not to their motherland. What is their commitment to their native country? The country gave everything to them, and they are giving their everything to the other countries. I don't blame the IITs as such. I blame the education system. It is not properly educating our children with respect to patriotism. They are not developing the art of loving, respecting, and working for our own country. We don't have any such education. Very unfortunately, it has to be changed in the proper sense. Every progress is a change, but every change need not be a progress. So we must have the change in the education. New education policy is a great weapon now. We Indians can study India in the right light, and thereby we can serve our country to the best of our ability. I thank Puneet Raj for extending me an invitation today to be a part of this wonderful program, to share some of my thoughts with our young friends. I once again thank all our organizers for this opportunity. I pray God for a great success of all our students in their future educational endeavors. Thank you very much. Jai Ram Krishna.